Thank you for sitting down with us today in High Desert.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So we just went on a tour. We're going to put the video footage in, post the video that we're doing now. But can you just tell us about how long this project's been going on?
My brother and my dad started this project about 3 years ago. I joined about just over 2.5 years ago, and it's just been a crazy train ever since.
Yeah, this is almost like a thing of legends because I've always heard, they're going to do this stuff in DHS, and I have a lot of friends out here, and we're just like, no way, or where are they going to put it? How's it going to go down? Because again, we had a whole lesson with you walking around. It was great.
Yeah, it's kind of all stars aligned for this project. Our property is fantastic. We got our own well, and things just start falling into place, and it's totally a divine God thing is all I can describe it as.
Of course, it's what it looks like. It's like heaven on earth.
Yeah, the Disneyland of cannabis.
Yeah, it's a small world after all.
Yes, it is.
So who came up with the name Coachillin?
My brother did, actually. The desert just kind of lends itself to this Coachillin vibe.
Seems like a great name for what this place is. It doesn't, just Coachillin. We're in the Coachella Valley. We're chilling. There's cannabis, and it's a good time.
Exactly.
And then there's also going to be a brew house.
Coachillin Brew House on Parcel 4, one of the main drags off the entry. And yeah, it's going to be a full touring education brew house, and you can have some tours, just have tastings and eat. It's going to be a really great kind of gastropub, modern but not too industrial feel. So it's going to be kind of a blend of Palm Springs meets brew house.
Yeah, and you're just a straight shot from downtown for the most part.
Yep, just straight up Indian Canyon.
You have, I think, I've always thought DHS has the best views as far as real estate is concerned with these mountains, and that's our ocean view, is the mountain view, I always say.
Exactly, the mountains and then the wind turbines right there. It's scenic, and the sunset's right there, and it's beautiful. It's
iconic because people think windmills, and then now they look out there and there they are.
Yes, and we're trying to capitalize on wind as much as possible, so we're bringing in our own wind turbines and gonna utilize God's green earth to help make sure this project is as eco-friendly as possible.
Yeah, so how does that happen when you talk wind turbine? I mean, what other sustainable energy sources are there besides wind and solar? Is there anything else I'm uneducated on?
Natural gas is another option, and then cogen, so combined heat and power, or CHP, where you can utilize hot and cold water to actually heat and cool facilities with a fan coil unit. So we plan on doing that for a lot of these facilities to offset the cooling cost during the summer, and then offset the heating cost during the wintertime when it does dip down here.
And we drove by the reservoir lake, right? Is that what that's considered? What would you call that?
It's a water storage reservoir with the RO facility, the reverse osmosis facility.
And I saw a rendering, it said it was going to be hundreds of feet deep, is that correct?
I don't know the exact specs. The well is 150 feet deep itself, with 350 feet of freshwater pay. The reservoir itself, where we store the 4 million gallons, I'm not sure how deep it is, but I could do some calculations if I had a calculator.
Well, when you were driving by on the tour, you were saying that sand is a problem because I live in an apartment complex, and they have to drain the pool every time because the desert's known for blowing sand. And how did you fix that problem? I forget.
We have a sand filtration system. We do drain the reservoir probably twice a year to make sure that we clean everything out. Most of that will be mediated once we have paved the park and have those other infrastructures finished up throughout the park, so that there's less wind and sand blowing around directly the reservoir.
Was that something from the get-go you knew you needed a reservoir?
Oh yes, 100%. We wanted to make sure that we built in redundancies throughout the park to make sure that folks never ran out of water, never ran out of power, and could operate no matter what.
Yeah, that was the whole premise. You're saying, self-contained, one-stop shop. I mean, really, I don't think there's any other outsourcing. It seems like everything's here. It's almost like we're on Mars and we're building our base.
Yeah, that was the end goal, is that everyone doesn't have to outsource. They can share their contacts, share their network, and make sure that they're getting the best product for the best price. We joke and call it the Coachillin family discount. So, if you're introduced to someone else that has a network in the park, then you're able to get their contacts and make sure that you get that family and friends discount, because we're all in this together. Everyone has the same goals, to bring cannabis to the forefront and really show people that this is not the devil's lettuce. It actually has immaculate healing powers, and it can actually change society's healthcare. So we just want to help facilitate that networking.
Yeah, we're breaking the stigma while breaking ground.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's awesome. So is that your logo that I'm looking behind on this sign here, or what is that?
Yeah, so this is our logo. It's Coachillin with a little mountain design and then a cannabis plant, as well as we render and change it to be more kid-friendly with just a palm tree.
You're also going to be working with live music, correct?
Yes, yeah, we are developing a amphitheater, 5,000 to 7,000 seat amphitheater, where we'll host live events regularly.
Nice. How often is it going to be? I mean, it's obviously a long way out. So there's other things to develop, but how often will you be having events?
We'll probably do it at minimum once a month, maybe once every 2 months, depending on the size. I have a passion for giving local folks a larger venue so that they have a little bit better chance at getting discovered. And so I want to bring the local high school bands out. I want to bring their choir teams out and just give them an opportunity to, one, learn the AV side of things, because we're big on education here. We want to be able to allow folks to get in and learn from the AV team that's going to be running the whole site, as well as learn how to play on a big stage like that.
But I think this is almost cooler because, again, it's in Desert Hot Springs, which has a lot of history with music. There's the Nude Bowl up the way. There's a lot of there's a lot of desert rock stuff that came from here, and it's just kind of cool that, like, who would have thought 20 years later, 30 years later, Nirvana is here. Nirvana, not the band, but you know what I mean.
Exactly. Yeah, we want the desert has become quite a hotbed for seasonal tourism, and we want to be a source of constant tourism. That people come out and, hey, there's amazing stuff going on in Desert Hot Springs in the Coachella Valley, and there's things to do, and it's not just really hot during the summer, but there are other opportunities for you to have fun and hang out in the lazy river at the pool, and then go watch a concert from the private patio of your suite.
Yeah, I think it's great that, again, your real estate, you're right off the freeway to where it's not like, we have to drive up, 10 miles to get there and go through the whole thing. It's, you can see it, you can see the highway from here.
Exactly. It's great visibility from the freeway. You can see it if you fly out of Palm Springs or into Palm Springs. And it's going to be awesome when it's fully built out.
You were even talking about murals, so pilots flying in can see.
Exactly, that's the goal. We'll have we have concrete weirs by the retention basins that could have a really cool Coachillin and desert theme to it. We have a lot of open facades on some of these facilities, so we're thinking about bringing out some of the local artists to do some very cool art installations. Again, one of my backgrounds is marketing, and if you're not photogenic in this day and age and your facility is not photogenic, it's not going to make it on social media. So you got to give people something that they want to take a picture of. Yeah,
everything is, clicks are everything these days, and there's nothing wrong with that. It actually helps because, again, a lot of that stuff is free. Obviously, you have to pay for, certain things with social media, but for the most part, if you have a great product, people are going to come.
Yep, that sells itself, exactly.
Yeah, most definitely. So how many people, I'm sure it's in the hundreds, but how many people are actually involved in all of this as far as, construction crews and all that kind of stuff?
Oh, I couldn't even put a number on it right now. We got a core team of employees that are essentially the directors that are overseeing all the construction side and the marketing side and the development side. It's into the hundreds. At full build out in the park, there's going to be anywhere between 1,000 and 1,500 employees daily. So that's just kind of the ballpark of what our analysis has shown.
Yeah, there's a really cool rendering that you guys made. It looks almost like a video game. Very, very good quality, and you can kind of see what it's going to turn into. And I've showed to a few people that I said I'm going to be coming here and interviewing the people in charge, and they're like, "How the hell are they going to do that?" And it's like, I guess they're doing it. So we got to see the tour, and I'm a believer.
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors saying that this project isn't happening, or there's no water, or there's no power, and none of that's true. Obviously, we have folks that are operating right now in the park. Rumor mill's gonna fly, and it's a small town, but we're just gonna keep our head low and make sure that we're doing it right, just as we've always done, and we're just gonna do this to the best of our ability, and that's how we're doing it.
Yeah, everything I've heard, none of it's been negative. It was just one of those things where it's people have to see it to believe it, because again, this is such a big deal for the Valley, because we're not Los Angeles, we're not Orange County, we're not Sandy, we're not these larger markets where it's a resurgence. It's an awesome thing that you're doing, because again, a lot of these people that have businesses here, they're relying on the Rat Pack days, the strip, the whole thing, and again, that's it's always going to be there, but again, this is like a resurgence of here we are, bigger, better than ever, and I think it's an amazing thing.
Exactly, yeah. I call it the green rush. I think we're in the midst of the second largest paradigm shift in our generation next to the Industrial Revolution. I mean, this is going to change healthcare. This is going to change everything. And it's cool because in the desert, it's very much optimal things. You know, like I said earlier, the stars are aligning. There's plenty of water out here. We sit on the second largest aquifer in North America. There's plenty of land, and there's plenty of ability for folks to actually move into housing out here. So I believe the Coachella Valley could be essentially the Silicon Valley of cannabis.
No, most definitely. Just driving by, even talking with our other passengers, we were even saying, we all thought this is like, we're breaking ground for Disneyland, like Walt Disney, the weed Walt Disney. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's exciting. We're definitely on the forefront of an amazing thing happening in society.
So who inspired this? How did it get inspired? I mean, you have to, if you could just give me one little story, it'd be great.
Sure. So my dad, his company is EcoMaster Corporation. It's a construction company. He was approached in 2014 after Desert Hot Springs passed their cannabis cultivation ordinance by a ton of random people. And typically he's not approached to buy or build any facilities for other people. We build for our own account and then sell them. And so he was approached, hey, have you ever built a 250,000 square pot facility? And then it got more and more educated calls with more and more New York types. And he's finally like, well, what's going on? So we called my brother, who happened to be in Silicon Valley, and he said, what is going on with this cannabis thing? Why am I getting all these pot calls? I haven't thought of pot since I was in college 30 years ago. My brother said, okay, sit down, Pops. Here's where cannabis was when you were in college. Here's where it's going. And more importantly, here's how we can be there. So long story short, my dad ended up being with his partner, the purchaser of this property, and my dad said, hey, will you come out and run it? I'm at the end of my career. I'm about ready for retirement. I'm not about to start a 10 to 15 year project. My brother said, yep, I'll come on down. And then about a year later, I came down and joined the chaos as well.
So are you enjoying, I mean, you kind of came at a great time, but I'm sure you've been here obviously during the summer, but right now we're actually kind of starting to cool down in the valley.
Oh, yeah. I hated summers here growing up when I went to high school out here, but I actually really have appreciated the slower life out here. It's been a nice change from living in Los Angeles for the last 8 years. And there's so much more to do in the valley, and the valley is changing, and it's very cool. There's things to do for younger people, which that was not the case when I lived out here. So I've enjoyed it. Temperatures are dipping now, and it's just a beautiful place to live.
When you guys are fully, everything's ready, turnkey, gates open, here we go, lights, camera action type of thing, how many people are you expecting on an opening day? Are you going to have an opening day situation?
We'll have an opening day for our brew house and the touring education facility, as well as the amphitheater and the hotel. But these other facilities, they're going to open up as they come, and depending on who they want to invite to their openings, considering most of the park is private property, it's hard to say, but it'll easily be probably 1,000 people per small opening. And then for these larger openings, for the brew house and for the hotel and the touring education dispensary, 5,000 people probably will come through the doors that day minimum.
And where will you have parking for that?
Parking's all on site. We'll be able to have more parking adjacent if properties aren't developed yet, but people are just going to be flowing in and out.
That's great. Yeah, because that's one thing about like Coachella, they have traffic jams. But I'm sure, you guys expanded the highway, correct?
Yes, we expanded Indian Canyon Drive, which is the front of our property. So it's now two lanes each direction, and then we also have a turn-in separate for our project. And then we've mitigated for more parking on site and all of that stuff with our specific plan. So we've handled as much traffic as we possibly could with a whole bunch of traffic studies done.
So for the people listening at home, what is the square footage? And you said 4 mile by 4, or how does it work? Yeah,
so if you run around the perimeter of the property, it's just over 4 miles. It's 160 acres, and it's quite a project. You stand on one corner, you can barely see the other wall on the other side. It looks like it's a centimeter large. So that, about 4 million square feet of buildable area.
And I'm sure you had to deal with, wildlife preservation and stuff like that. Could you tell us something about that?
Yeah, so we actually had some burrowing owls on the site when we were doing some grading a couple of years ago. So we actually had to section off almost a quarter of the project because it was their mating season. And so they built nests actually in these big rock piles that we created because they're safe from all the different hawks and things like that. So we were unfortunately not able to do a lot of the grading for a while the birds had their mating season, and then they moved on.
Yeah, we have a lot of critters, horned lizards and things like that. And I mean, there's a lot out here, but I'm sure, once the walls are built, they're not getting in. And there's plenty of desert for these guys to get around in.
Exactly. And we've done all the mediation processes that we need to do for that with all the ecological groups that we needed to bring in. And they're confident that we've done it the right way, and CEQA's been totally compliant.
Yes, everything that you've talked about on the tour, it seems like you have everything, solid, and it's really great. There's no loose ends, and that's very nice for people that are coming in and wanting, to rent out these units or however you guys make the deal. It seems, like, again, going back to that one-stop shop thing, it's amazing, actually. It's, there's no, you got to drive it here, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's we're here, it's almost like a gated community.
Exactly. It's a property owners association.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so we formed our own property owners association, which is like an HOA, but it's for industrial properties. And so if you own a piece of property, you are part of the POA, is what we call it. And then if you're a tenant, you're a different class member of that property owners association as well. So everyone's got a voice. We get to chat about things in the park, all the different things that we want to do, and maintenance, and all the boring things and all the exciting things that come with the POA.
So these plans in front of us, this is everything that's developed or going to be developed?
This is the whole park. As this is a master site plan. We have footprints of the facilities that we know are going in. The rest are just kind of guesstimates. So we got the touring and education facility right here off of Indian Canyon Drive, as well as the brew house, hotel, the amphitheater. Most of these properties are sold. This is actually the water storage reservoir that we drove by. This is our lab facility. This is the incubator that I talked about with the greenhouses. And then here's the second incubator. And then, the rest is still being designed.
Great. Your father, what does he build? Does he do malls? Does he do homes? What else does he do?
So EcoMaster Corporation is a high-end custom home builder or specialty medical facilities. So we actually just sold our building in India. It was right off of Monroe. It housed essentially a linear bunker for cancer zapping technology, for lack of a better word, so that the radiation didn't leak out. It was like a 12-foot concrete bunker. And so those specialty medical facilities are what they specialized in. So he'll be able to build these lab facilities pretty easily because they have C1D1 requirements for some of them and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure. It could be a headache to do all the red tape stuff, because I mean it's there's a lot going on. I mean, you got your plate full. It's
definitely full. Yes, absolutely.
As I was walking into the room we're in now, I could see the raw building materials, and it's like almost like you just plug and play kind of thing. You just kind of stack them, and it's all built together. It's who designed the building and picked the materials to build the houses and all that stuff, the grow houses.
So we've essentially designed our own hybrid greenhouse facility, and we use MGO systems. They're actually based out of Canada, and they have these structurally engineered panels that have holes for you to run the electrical through, so you're not doing any additional framing and things like that. So we wanted to use the most economical, carbon footprint friendly, and most quickly assemblable assembly possible. So we've done the polycarbonate roof. We're playing with another design of doing the MGO roof. And MGO Systems is just fantastic with their product, and we're utilizing it a lot throughout the park because they're also load-bearing walls, which is very important for structural purposes, and it just cuts down a lot of the materials and a lot of the construction impact that this project would have.
And am I wrong? Are there going to be fish inside this park?
Yeah, we're going to do a tilapia farm. It's going to help actually filter the brine, which is essentially the wastewater that comes out of the RO facility. And then the potty and poo water essentially acts as a fertilizer that you can sell to farmers in the valley or even any of the farmers here, so that they can actually utilize that, and it's all repurposed and reused and recycled on site.
It's so nice to know that everything is like sustainable, and you guys have thought all that through. A lot of other industries, they seem to dump, and it's just, this is great. I mean, who can argue with this?
I hope no one can. We like to change a lot of people's minds about cannabis and show them that, hey, this is a sustainable industry. We're going to have to change a lot of the master growers who think that they can only grow one way. Technology is going to dictate how they ultimately grow, and if they look at the data that comes from their grows, they'll be able to see what works and what doesn't. But as long as they're willing to try new things and see what works, I only foresee this industry getting better and better.
Yeah, as do I. I think it's a long time coming, and I always tell people, get ready and get with the times.
Exactly. Hop on board or get out of the way.